Hello, wrestling fans. This is John Hoppy, and you're listening to the Wrestling Fans Insight Sunday Takedown, October 20th here. Can't believe it's gone this fast already. Apparently, being off for a couple of weeks has kind of moved everything so fast for me. But anyways, I'm here with my co-host, William. How are you?
Oh, kind of just laid up at home dealing with my old manness.
It'll get better. I
Oh,
promise.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Age definitely adds on bonus points.
Yes, it does. Well, we should also ask Carlos because he's older than us. But anyways, how you
Oh,
doing,
taking
Carlos?
shots already. So you try to rile me up on purpose. I see how it is now. Actually, Stampede's older than all of us, so there we go. I'm good. I didn't even know William was here. He's like lurking in the back the whole time, being silent and deadly.
Well, William's actually elsewhere. He's at home today, so
See, when you took your hiatus, he got some new toys. Now he doesn't have to come to your house anymore. He's like, perfect.
actually he was with me on a few of those days, by the way. So, what do you say to that?
I'm sorry. Say to what? I was multitasking like you.
Yeah,
What was the joke you called? What was the joke you said?
I said William was with me for a few of those days. So,
No,
yeah.
of course, but no Jericho Cruise. Now I'll start it back, huh?
No, that'll happen here at the end of January, and he'll be
You
on
taking him
that.
this time?
Yeah, he's going.
Nice.
Yeah,
About time.
so now he can't yell at me anymore. But unfortunately, he's not going to Dynamite this week, though. The party pooper. And he's not going to say anything.
I know. I know. Now that I watched. Once I saw the show on TV, I was like, I really wish I would have went to that show in Stockton, Collision. It was fun, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, driving 2 hours and God, like everything worked out with that I could have went, but I'm like, nah, I don't want to drive after work. I was like, I'm tired. I don't. You guys know I don't open, and so usually, opening that day, I was like, it's not a pleasant sight for people. I'm not getting kicked out if I yell. It's the wrong person.
No, not you. Never. No. We also got our last man standing here, Stampede. How are you, my friend?
Doing fine. And yes, I am the vintage one of the group, like fine maple syrup up here in the Great White North. Eh?
So, is it true you guys have to have like an emergency supply of maple syrup up there in Canada?
At all times. Yes. Yes.
Where did you
Minimum-
did you find your old joke book from 6th grade, John? And you like tried them out one last time today or what?
No, that's true. It's
Is it
Oh,
true?
it's true. It's true.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
minimum 2 liters. No less, or there's a fine.
Carlos,
You got to be able to give
Carlos thought I
them.
was
You
fucking
got to give
around
them to
with
a guest in case they come over or what? As a hospitality. Don't forget your gallon of maple syrup.
Yeah, see, I know some history, Carlos. Give me a little credit here and there. So, um, now that we got the crew introduced and all the old man jokes out, we got kind of an interesting, untraditional show today. I kind of wanted to touch on a couple of things, even though I'm still slowly catching up on everything since I've been away on my hiatus. A couple of things that kind of, I wouldn't say hit a nerve, but I kind of would say maybe it was kind of shots fired at IWC, not just content creators, but fans. But let's start off with the main one. For those of you who followed the human suplex machine, Taz, he threw out a post the other day that says, man, while I'm recovering, I cannot believe the oversaturation of wrestling podcast out in the IWC. And I kind of thought that was a little funny he mentions that because in reality, I would think you'd want to be embracing wrestling fans, having fun, bringing in these projects to key. But I also understand why he's kind of throwing shade at him because there are a lot of podcasts out there that they do kind of hit some nerves in some ways. I know every once in a while we do as well with some of our takes. But the one thing I really think that really maybe needs to be looked at why he throws that. And maybe a lot of it is just because some of these podcasts do kind of get a little too much into dirt sheet likes or really not so much heavy criticism, but kind of want to try to show that they're experts. And the one thing I've always promoted our show is we've never been experts. We're just fans, and we like to do things a little different with our show because we got Stampede, who's mainly our kind of like our stats man, kind of like the uh, Marv Alvarez. Is it Marv or Mark? I can never remember his first name from
Marv
AEW.
Albert, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's
Herb's
Marv
brothers.
Alvarez, but
Right.
he's done a very good job at keeping stats, not just like one company, but all companies, and he's actually helped quite a few of the wrestlers with their latest books, especially on one of Chris Jericho's, which was very interesting. It was like almost every match to date for Chris Jericho. And anybody who hasn't read that, I really recommend getting that when you can. But we have Carlos, who kind of throws out a lot of good points out there when it comes to storylines and where he can see the directions. Then you kind of got fans like William and I. We're kind of more in the right in between the casual and kind of in the more advanced wrestling fan, you can say, where we kind of see how things go. We can almost predict it, but every once in a while we'll get surprised by some of the things that's kind of like the end solution. But as far as oversaturation podcasts go, I understand where Taz goes with that, and I think to a degree he does have a point. But also, a lot of these things are done because, I think for the most part, people like to show their fandom off. I do think sometimes the expert knowledge, in air quotes, the expert knowledge does kind of get to be a little much, but as long as you're just having fun with it, I don't think you should ever knock on the IWC, but try to embrace it a little bit too. And I noticed Chris Van Vliet kind of played along with it to say, "Hey, Taz, would you like to come on my show?" I do agree, by the way. But why don't we kind of get some of your reactions? Let's start off with Carlos, who loves to listen to a lot of the podcasts out there.
The thing, like I learned, like I had a song when I was out my clubbing days in San Francisco. It's a house song, and it's called Another Point of View. And it honestly, like, it really changed my life because it just really taught, like, I listened to it and it was like those aha moments, like, look at things from a different perspective. So when I listened to him, the thing that I thought right away is, like, look at it as, instead of like being mad about, oh my gosh, it's so, all these podcasts, like, I think it's a win for the wrestling business that it's so strong right now, that there is so much content being created out there. Because if there wasn't a need for it, people wouldn't do it, and so I think that's okay. And I wish he would remember too, like, for anybody who, maybe people can't wrestle, but they have a lot of knowledge, like even like our friend Stampede. I think, I'm really glad that we got connected because he has a lot of good wrestling knowledge too, that I think, he can give out to fans that are getting into wrestling or coming back. So I just look at things from a different perspective and look at it as a win for the pro wrestling business. The fact that there is so much content out there, that people are excited about it, people are consuming it. For me, that's just a big win for the pro wrestling business. And that was funny because that's what I thought too, is Taz being hit up by a lot of people. Hey, you're off, so can you do my podcast? But especially, it just sounds like an old man, yelling from his lawn. Because especially when you consider too how many people from his own company have their own podcasts. I just think, I get his point of view, but again, I look at it from the point of view, like, it's a win for the whole business in general. And again, for him too, I'm sure he, if it wasn't for his AEW contract, he'd probably be doing a podcast too. So it's like, I think it's a beautiful thing, because now wrestlers before who couldn't pay their bills and do stuff now have this way of another revenue for them as well. So I think all in all, it's a big win for everybody.
And kind of to touch base on that, I also want to say, we actually hit a pretty high number a couple of weeks ago on the Good Pods, where we somehow hit the number one on the weekly indie podcast stats, which I thought was pretty cool, because we don't really monetize off this project. We just do this for fun. And so
that's what John says, but but look, he's going on a cruise. That's all I'm going to say. No, I'm just kidding.
Whatever. No, I just thank my wife for being a sugar mama, I guess.
Hey,
So, but no, and you know, for a stat like that, for those of us that aren't really out there to monetize, I kind of take a great pride in that stat. So thank you to everyone who actually does take the time to listen to some of our recorded and our watch our lives. And we also just hit 1,000K in subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty awesome. So thank you to everybody who's been hitting the subscribe and liking some of our stuff. Also want to give a shout out to Carol Bucks out there. She's tuning in from the YouTube. Also Caleb, much love, Carlos. Thank you, Caleb, for tuning
thanks,
in.
Caleb.
Appreciate you coming on.
Happy birthday weekend, brother.
Ooh, birthday weekend for him,
Yeah.
huh? Happy birthday, Caleb. Hope you have a really great day and great weekend. Now getting back on the topic of the oversaturation of podcast, I don't think William's going to have a whole lot. Are you, Will?
It's not going to be in great detail. No. The thing that I will say is I don't necessarily believe that it's an issue that there's oversaturation. I would think that they would love to hear what the fans do have to say. It doesn't mean they're right, doesn't mean they're wrong. But, you know, honestly, it should not bother them unless there's a bunch of misinformation or negativity going around that doesn't need to exist.
And that's a really key point right there is sometimes a lot of these podcasts, sometimes they'll rely on some info from other companies that they've been pretty good for the most part, but there's always going to be that one that misses and it hits hard because, you know, unfortunately for society, out of 10 things you could do right, and you only did 9 of them right and got one wrong, you get too many people that focus on the one wrong rather than the 9 right. And, you know, it really should be the other way around, in my opinion. But why don't we get with Stampede on this topic?
So, around 5 years ago, safe to say that the wrestling business across the globe kind of exploded, right? Especially in North America, as far as how people are going to consume this with streaming and then working relationships. So, like, we're in a period of a big boom now. You know, Joshi wrestling is more prevalent now than it ever was and more visible in North America. Same with New Japan, the Indies, AEW, TNA. There are tons of promotions that people were not aware of 5 years ago. So, by association, if all of that is now on a lot more people's radars, there's all your podcasts. There's all, you know, they're going to grow in association with that stuff that's going on. You have lots to choose from. You know, if you like Joshi stuff, there's podcasts there for it. If you like what we do, here we are, right? If you're strictly WWE or strictly AEW, you have podcasts for that. If you like one that's just going to tell you stuff that you want to hear, whether it's true or not, you have podcasts for that too. So I don't have an issue with it. Just, you know, choose wisely as to the ones you listen to.
All right. And I definitely agree with Stampede's take on that. You know, it's a matter of what you like, and you know, if you're in tune with that type with the content that podcast provide, definitely support them and keep supporting them. Also help promote them too. You know, get their following up. I would love to see everybody succeed. You know, I'm one of those guys that will try to root for anyone that I can, as long as, you know, you're not being very toxic. And that's what's going to kind of lead up to our next one is
The other thing I want to just add too, again, this is another thing to look at too. Like, we have a couple of friends in our circle that are autistic doing podcasts about wrestling, you know, and I think that's what Taz. I think I would love to see him too. Like, having this platform, letting people come into their own. Like, even like we have friends in our even that did that were coming to our spaces, and now they're feeling confident during their spaces. Like, it does a lot to give people worth, and does a lot to give them confidence too. And so, like, just celebrate those things instead of being so negative.
exactly. And I know I'm going to be working on another podcast here shortly with a local wrestling friend here. He's definitely got some. He's got some of those qualities like you mentioned, and I think it'd be really cool because he loves wrestling. I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't just love WWE, he loves AEW. He loves everything that he can watch, you know, and I love watching his fandom being expressed every time we get together, whether we're at a wrestling event or bowling together, because that's all we talk about is we love to talk wrestling. And so eventually I will have something coming out with him here shortly if I can get it in the works, and hope everyone stays tuned to listen to my buddy Devin here. So uh, but as we mentioned about the toxic part, there definitely is a lot of toxicity in the IWC, and it's kind of really frustrated me over the years. And you know, one of the things that just drives me nuts is anytime you refer to a fellow wrestling fan as stupid is very uncalled for. It really chaps my ass many times when I see stuff like that, because you know there's going to be many times we all don't agree 100% with everything, but to say our opinions are right and theirs is wrong, that's something way different, and it should never be in this type of an atmosphere. We're all wrestling fans at the end of the day, and we should enjoy what we watch. But if anybody knows what I'm talking about, there was a post where JD from New York, who I definitely do not like the guy. I think that's about 90% of the IWC. They do not like the guy. He made a post where um, a fan was saying, I believe in Daniel Garcia, and JD from New York actually called that person stupid and says made some kind of comment referring that Tony Khan's dropped the ball with Daniel Garcia, and whether that's true or not, you should never attack a fan for believing in a wrestler they like. And that's something I don't ever want my community to be promoting, because I think every fan should have their person that they root for. They should have the person that they don't want to root for. You know, it's up to them, and that's part of being a fan. But why don't we start with Stampede on this topic here?
Yeah, calling someone stupid, no, that's wrong. Like, I mean, yeah, there's people out there that are uneducated on the topics in which they're commenting on, but if that's the case, you know, you educate them. If they get something wrong, that's fine. If they're willingly uneducated on it, then there's really not much you can do with that. That's just their mindset. But to just flat out do what JD did, but he has a history of this anyway. So that's nothing new from him. I personally don't have a problem with what Tony did, responding to him. Right? It was done in a what I thought was a respectful manner. You know, he picked up for the fan and then responded to JD. So, you know, just be careful with your comments, right? Because, like, you know, some people may be coming from a place of they just don't know, right? That happens. You know, if that's the case, just fill them in, let them know, right?
And you know, I kind of want to touch base on that as well, because I forgot to mention Tony Khan, or I may have mentioned it. Tony Khan did respond, and I think he absolutely hit it on the head. He goes, "You know, JD, there's a lot of things I don't like that you've posted, but I've never once called you stupid. It's very subjective, and that's what it is. I mean, that's why I think as wrestling fans today, we need to kind of embrace what's going on, because we've never had this much going on, even during the Monday Night Wars, where we've had so much variety. It's like a buffet table compared to what we had back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Carlos, do you want to give your thoughts?
You know, I think my thoughts on this is like the same. like I wish that these other people would just remember that again, I think the thing I want people to remember with JD is that he purposely is doing this because he's trying to get impressions, he's trying to get people talking about him. So he's doing cheap tactics, just cheap heat, but not even cheap heat. I don't want to insult Bully was saying that. It's like just doing just stuff that he shouldn't be doing just for engagement, just to try to get money. And I think that's what people need to remember. It's like these things are monetized now, so don't give in to him. Don't even and that's what we had a problem with even our chat. It's like we don't want to see his posts in our chat. I'm not ever gonna fall into his thing to give him a quote tweet or a retweet because he's a moron, and he's just doing this stuff because he's trying to get engagement. He was very much a fan of AEW until he lost his press pass, and then everything changed with them. But then that's the thing I just want to just tell anyone who's listening, who's another content creator. It's like, your words do matter for somebody. You never know what kind of impression you have on somebody. So don't call somebody stupid, And the same time, it's like the thing about Johnny Garcia too, that I just want to throw out there is he decided to stay in AEW. So even if Tony dropped the ball with him, he still decided to stay because he believes in the company. It's like, and he wouldn't even have the chances he was having if it wasn't for AEW. So it's like, like I said, just look at things from all around, from different perspective as well. And look at it from the big picture. But yeah, just remember, you may not think that your words matter, but saying hurtful things, there might be that one person that your words do affect. So just be more conscious of that and just try to just not be so negative, because in the end, you never know what kind of damage you can be doing with your words. And good for Tony Khan for saying that, and again, a lot of people give him shit, but the guy's a nice dude. I'd love to have him as a boss.
And the thing with what JD does, right? A lot of people are on to him and they know exactly what he is and what he's like, as Carlos just mentioned. But there are still groups of people out there who will hang on his word and take it as fact, right? So that's the harmful aspect of what he does, right? Because he's essentially what he's doing. He's telling a group of people what it is they want to hear. As soon as they hear it, they believe it. So there is damage that he does in that area.
And the one thing I always want to point out too, unlike, most of the other apps, there's a lot of talent. There's promoters. They're on this thing quite a bit, whether you believe it or not, even though they don't post as much as like what we do. They're watching. And when they see stuff like that, you better be prepared for one hell of a backlash or even something that will make you look very terrible. So, it's one of those things where, be very mindful of your actions because it can cost you quite a bit. And even though William's not really much of a social media guy, Will, do you have any thoughts on this?
You guys have covered pretty much everything there is to cover. I would say it's kind of time for the negativity to stop. There's already enough of that throughout the world. When it comes to something that people are just trying to enjoy to get away from everyday life, it serves no purpose to attack somebody.
%100% right there. Just let people enjoy what they want in life. You don't need to be the douchebag or be judgmental. Just let it be, But anyhow, now that we're finally going to get away from the negative, let's go a little more toward the positive. So this week was kind of a whirlwind for me because I was not expecting this to happen on SmackDown. For many of you paying attention, we actually predicted this would be happening in NXT. But the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, made their debut on SmackDown in a triple threat match to work on becoming the next challengers for the WWE World Tag Team Championships. Why don't we start with you, Stampede, do you think the Motor City Machine Guns met the expectations in their debut?
The match was fine. There was nothing wrong with the match. them going over, I don't have a problem with that either. They just got there. You're not going to have them lose in the first match. They didn't get a big pop, but I kind of expected that because a lot of that fan base is just not familiar with them. Product of what you sow, right? They've cultivated a fan base to not watch beyond that promotion. So it takes a while to uncultivate that. That'll change as people get a look at them. Right? But to speak on what we were just saying there, see a lot of comments online about their size. They're not big guys. They're not tall, right? Then some of that fan base glommed right onto that, right? Like that's just not good stuff. Don't do that. Like these two guys, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, they are a top 5 tag team all time. They're that good, right? So it's a great addition to that roster. My worry is, are they going to get enough time to actually show this on a consistent basis? Because they don't. That's an issue there, right? I know some people absolutely love it and they love the show format just as it is, but they did 4 hours of TV this week and they put on 57 minutes of wrestling. If you're good with math, you can do the percentage of what that is. That's in the low 20s. So that's my fear there, right? It's going to be the initial kind of honeymoon period, going to showcase them, and then where do they go then? Especially with the show that they're on, because we all know who else is on that show, which is the Bloodline, right? And everything takes a backseat to that. So I hope it works out for them. They have the talent, both in the ring and on the mic, as characters, to be top of the card there, and for the next 2, 3, 4 years, however long they sign. It's just, will they get the opportunity to do it? Is my fear.
William, do you have any thoughts?
Mostly, I was just kind of thrown back when I heard their names announced. I was not expecting it to just start off main roster. But if you think about it, it's really kind of the best move that they could have done, because there's not really much going on for the tag team scene in NXT right now.
But wouldn't you think, and this is kind of way back when, where NXT fans were definitely a much different fan base because they were more familiar with the outside companies. But if there isn't much going on in the NXT, wouldn't you want to have the Motor City Machine Guns there try to bring that tag team division back to life?
I honestly, I think that would interfere with whatever they've got planned for the people they already have in place for the tag team in NXT.
All right.
But the main
Carlos?
roster needs the tag team division to get back to life too. Right? Like the tag team title holders on Raw, how many times have they defended those titles? Right?
Very
And
little.
the Bloodline holds the titles where they're at. Like I said, it's going to be an uphill battle, but see how it goes.
Well, we move on to Carlos. His thoughts.
The thing, and the reason I brought this up for us to discuss is like for me, it's like the thing that I want us to get again it fits their narrative where it fits it, right? So again, I do like the fact that they're not hiding, even though they don't say it. Like for the wrestling fans like us who know wrestling, like seeing that Nick Aldis is the one that brought him in is a nice little homage to like TNA, and it's a nice little Easter egg for us fans. Like I liked it. I wish they would have got a bigger pop, but at the same time, like they got good music, they got a good intro, they got pyro. So like they're doing everything they can to succeed, but like I feel a lot with Stampede. Like it's to be determined, right? Because they've shown already that they're not going to give a lot of time to these guys. So I hope to see them succeed. And the thing that I want to say too about this is, instead of focusing on the negative and being like, oh, how again, and I'm going to bring this home again, how small they are again. the fact that now we have people in charge that are letting people come into WWE because they're talent and not holding against these guys because they're small. Again, these guys should have been there 10 years ago, but they weren't because we had a tyrant in charge. It's like celebrate the talent that these guys who bust their ass, who like Stampede said are one of the top 5 tag teams. Again, they made me fall in love with tag team wrestling before AEW did. I remember that watching TNA, like, oh my God, tag team wrestling, this is so cool. Because we all heard from Vince, why pay for 4 when I got to pay for 2? It's like, so just these guys deserve this. And again, celebrate the talent that they're finally getting up there, that they didn't have to start with NXT, that they're getting to be on SmackDown. Like, it's a win for them, and I'm happy to see it for them.
Did you want to have any extra thoughts on that, Stampede, before we move on?
One, yeah, the whole going to NXT thing, that would have worked if NXT was still black and gold and it was still being presented in that fashion, which now it's not. So, and these guys aren't young either. Like, they're 40. Like, they got a lot of miles on them. So if they're going to get a good run out of them, put them on the main roster right away. They're TV ready. They're used to working on TV, so they don't have to go through that down in NXT either.
All right. This is probably almost the shortest we've spent on discussing some topics today, but there's one more thing I kind of want to touch base. Anybody who's been following Scott D'Amore since his departure from TNA, he's brought on the new promotion, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, and he's been putting on a lot of stellar cards since the start. They had a 2-nighter event this weekend. Night 2 is tonight on Thriller, I believe. Is that correct, Dave? Sorry, Davey.
That is correct, yeah.
Or Triller, sorry. I don't know why I called it Thriller. So Triller is Thriller sometimes, depends on what you're watching. Why don't we go
You just get that Michael Jackson song stuck in your head.
I know. It's Halloween, so I'm trying to kind of keep the spookiness going here, but we won't mention the spooky ring lady for you. So, but why don't we get your thoughts from night 1 last night, and then let's go ahead and have you take over and go into card 2 for tonight.
Very fun show last night. Ran just a little over 3 hours. Had a really good flow to it. Had a very TNA feel to it and look in its presentation, which I kind of expected. The Scott D'Amore came from TNA. Right? Outside of the Bully Ray match, all the matches were good. The Mike Bailey Takeshita match, I have that solidly in my top 10 for the year at number 6. That was just absolutely amazing what they were able to do in that ring. Huge shout out to Giselle Shaw and Mayu Yamashita. They absolutely cooked in their match. I was saying before we got on air, I like when a woman's wrestling match is booked like a professional wrestling match and not a woman's professional wrestling match. Right? Like they just were sent out there and they knocked each other hard with like stiff shots, good back and forth action. And it was presented in a way where I didn't know who was winning. Right? That's what you want. That was done really, really well. The Jake something match, another one really, really, really well done. Good storytelling within the match. So anybody that hasn't seen it yet, if you can, go back and do it on a rewatch. It's worth the 3-hour investment, right? Bret Hart did a nice little intro to it. Bret Hart wrestled there back in the 80s, but he gave a good history on the promotion, where it is now and where it wants to go into the future. And they flashed a big 2025 on the screen. Big red letters, couldn't miss it. So that's going to be 2025 is their go time from the look of it, right? Last night and tonight, here's your introduction. Another thing I noticed, they presented in a way to, like, for an educated fan, just because they reach back into a lot of history. Like, this person was here, he wrestled there. That they incorporate all that in. The commentary was spot on with Mauro Ranallo and Don Callis. They worked really, really well together. And calling that main event match with Bailey and Takeshita, they were telling the story and the history during the match. Like, they really tied everything in really, really well. And another thing, I'm going to give a huge shout out to Scott and that promotion. There was not a promotion out there that they did not mention, give a nod to, give recognition to, and promote, right? Even ones that didn't participate on that card last night and tonight, they still gave recognition to them, right? They advertised Dynamite this week coming up. They advertised TNA Bound for Glory. They just very, very, very classy done. Like, I was very impressed with it. I'm really looking forward to tonight. Except for the Bully Ray match. After last night, that was horrible.
Hey, Stampede.
Horrible.
What's that? Oh,
Yeah.
Now again, focus on the positives. Again, be happy that those old guys can still get a check, even though he's not one that needs it. But again, but at least again, we're at least Scott the more loyal to his friends.
Yeah. Some matches tonight to watch out for. If you haven't bought this already, buy it. It's on Triller. It's $19.99. It's worth the money. Kylie Ray, everybody knows Kylie Ray, and Mayu Yamashita are teaming up to take on Harley Cameron and Laney Luck. That should be very well done from what I seen last night. Stu Grayson, Mike Rollins, and Trevor Lee. Trevor Lee, you'll remember from WWE and NXT as Cameron Grimes. They're going up against Jake Something, Sheldon Jean, and Alex Zane. Alex Zane used to team with Lance Archer, part of Monster Sauce. El Phantasmo is going up against Mike Bailey. That should be another match that is extremely well done. Those two match up really well. ROH women's title is on the line. Athena going up against Giselle Shaw. And your main event, international title on the line. Konosuke Takeshita going up against Josh Alexander. I don't know if they'll top last night's match with Bailey, but these two have the ability and the talent to do it. So this could be that could be easily another top 10 of the year match. Easily. So. Promotion on the rise, and it's in the right country to do it because I'm in Canada and we are starved up
my
here.
God.
No, but we're like, there's nothing up here on a grand scale.
I agree.
As far as the promotion goes, right? So like this is good. And you look at all the people on that card that are from Canada. Right? There's a lot of them, So like El Phantasmo is from Canada, Mike Bailey, Stu Grayson, Josh Alexander. There's quite a few people back and forth that are from Canada. So and if he has working relationships with TNA and New Japan and AEW and Ring of Honor, that's huge. I think this is really going to go, and I think it's going to go well.
and I'm definitely going to be looking for that event because I think I can get it with where I'm streaming too. So I'm definitely going to be in tonight watching that. And I'm really excited to see it, especially Takeshita and Josh Alexander. That dude, both those guys are machines. But I do have to agree with you. It's kind of hard to follow up with anything when you just previously wrestled Mike Bailey because that guy's an absolute beast anytime he goes in the ring with anybody. Anyhow, why don't we go ahead and kind of get into our shout outs for the week? One I want to give out also to Patrick Pucci there from the Sports Affiliation on X. They got a good thing going on with NFL and some other things. Carlos, do you have any shout outs you want to give?
I want to shout out West Coast Pro Wrestling. That's an event I'm gonna be going to this Friday in where I live. They're doing a show, but just a quick shout out to the pro wrestling business AEW for putting a light on these independent wrestlers. So when I see them, it makes me want to go watch them. So that's a good thing for the pro wrestling business. But I'm gonna echo Patrick, and then I'm also gonna just echo out the DWE, our friends over there. They shout us out all the time. They're the Bloodline crew. They're very good to us. AEW crew, and the Sage Network, Pro Sports, Primetime Fix, Nate's chat, Death Row chats, the Titans chat. Just thank you all for supporting us. Everyone who comes into our spaces. I'm gonna go fix my lunch before I go to work, guys. So I'm gonna bow out, but I'll let you guys finish it up. Just thanks for everyone who's listening to us today. Appreciate all you guys.
And thank you, Carlos. I was trying to get you in first so you could go attend your other duties. So appreciate you, brother, and have a good week. William, do you have any shout outs you want to throw out there today?
Just basically to all our listeners, thank you for listening.
And Stampede?
Yeah, same thing. Like all our listeners, like I said, without you guys, we're just talking into the void, right? But if you see us around, if you see us, promoting spaces and that, we're promoting them for a reason, because they're good. I don't want to single. If I start singling certain people out, I know I'm going to miss people, so I'm not going to do that. But just follow us. If you see us, say okay, Stampede or Carlos, or William. They're telling me I should listen to this space or this podcast, right? Well, check them out. We're not going to steer you wrong. So.
And if you see our screen here on our live feed, you'll see I've got our X handles up there. Carlos is gone, but I'll give his at C to the LOS 77 and at Conquer the No, his nonprofit company. You can also follow Carlos on Instagram. I'll pop it up real quick here at Rainbow Goodness _. Go check him out over there. Back to our X handles. You can catch me at WF Insight Pod. And also, if you go to my account, we also have a new community up on the X for the fans of pro wrestling. Just go my profile, check it out. So, hit the request to join, and just give us a little bit of time because we're not always on X. So give us some time to get you approved, and we'll get you in there. But you can also follow Brian the Hype Ballard at the Brian Adkins. Also check out his YouTube channel at Tap Out Talk, where he does some fun presentations of past PLE events and some of the specials they do on some programmings from time to time. Also, you can be checking us out on our webpage. I'm still working on a few things here and there at thefansofprowrestling.com and our YouTube channel. Again, thank you to everyone who's hit the like and subscribe. We've just hit over 1,000 subscribers. You can find us on YouTube at Wrestling Fans Insight. William, you want to give your X handle?
At William Hoppy 8.
And give him time to follow back because he's not on there much. And you can also follow Stampede. Stampede, you want to give your X handle?
At David ROVER 7174.
And before we call it good, Davey, I know you guys kind of switched it up on the X spaces during the week. Are you guys doing Monday and Wednesday again this week?
I believe so. Yeah. Tuesdays I work, so that's kind of difficult to do that one. Except for the first week of November, I have a previous booking in another entertainment field in your country.
In your country. I love the way you said in your country.
Yeah, well, it ain't mine. I didn't want to get too specific as to what I was doing, but I think you can read between those lines. It was booked last fall, so.
No, I get it. Right. And did you have any final thoughts for this week here, Davey, before we wrap it up?
just, go into each show that you're going to watch with an open mind. Don't watch a show on Monday the same way you would watch a show on Wednesdays, and then reverse that. Don't watch a show on Wednesday that you're going to watch on on Monday the same way, right?
Right.
Just open mind. Just take it for what it is. Both, and that's regardless of where you're watching. New Japan, Stardom, CMLL, Ring of Honor. Like they're all TNA. They're all different. They're all unique to themselves, right? And this is a good thing. It just gives us so much variety that we can now finally pick and choose what it is we want to entertain us. We should be thankful for what we have right now. There's been a long time where we didn't. So, good times in the wrestling universe. So, celebrate it, embrace it, and enjoy it.
William, do you have any final thoughts?
I do not.
All right. That was easy. So for those who are kind of keeping track, especially if you're in the state of Utah, AEW Dynamite will be here in Salt Lake City on Wednesday night. I believe they're opening the doors around the 5:00 mark, and I think the show starts at 5:30. Obviously, they're going to probably be doing some recordings for Rampage. So if you happen to be attending the show, don't be afraid to come say hi to me. I will be there in person. You can also catch me in DMs if you want to meet up at WF Insight Pod on the X app. You can also check us out on Facebook under the Fans of Pro Wrestling group and find me there as well. So if you want to come say hi or, just whatever, just come on over and shoot me up, or not shoot me up, but hit me up.
And on that card, which is correct, it is Salt Lake City, Utah, at the Maverick Center. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
We have Shelton Benjamin going up against Sammy Guevara. Mark Briscoe is putting his ROH World Title on the line against Chris Jericho in a ladder war match. We have a 6-man tag team match on the card. Daniel Garcia and Private Party going up against the Elite, consisting of Jack Perry, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. And if I'm not mistaken, match was just added. Queen Aminata is going to take on Camille.
Yes, that was actually just recently added. So we got a pretty good card coming up on Wednesday, and I'm looking really forward to seeing what they do here. And I have to say, even though Chris Jericho that many people frown on, I'm a Chris Jericho mark, so sorry, folks, but I am interested to see how this ladder war goes. It'll be very interesting, to say the least. But all those other matches that Davey has mentioned, those are going to be killer too. So, and I've been waiting to see Camille in person because I've been an absolute fan of hers for quite some time.
And don't sleep on the person that she's in the ring with, because Queen Aminata has every tool in the book.
Oh yeah,
to
she's
be a world champion.
She's a future world champion.
Yeah.
You're right. And unfortunately, we're going to peak off near the 400 live viewers. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in. Again, check out our X Space with Stampede and Carlos. I will pop in there every once in a while too if I have time. So without any further ado, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. Please go to our YouTube or even on our Spotify. Go check us out. Hit the subscribe, like, rate us, show 5 stars. We appreciate each every one of you. Please be kind to each other. And as always, have a great week.